committee members need to start showing up. There's Gary with his boat in the background, or a boat.
You're muted, Gary. There you go.
Not anymore.
All right.
Jackie's here. I'm just calling in. I'm in a rest area on I-40.
Oh, all right. You're heading back west?
I am.
All right. Welcome, Scotty.
Hi.
Good to see you.
My computer was a little slow this afternoon.
How's your foot?
Still in two pieces.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I just saw the orthopedic surgeon today. So apparently I need to take more vitamin D. I guess that happens as you get older.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, just start eating those pills.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said it's been 6 weeks and my toe's still in two pieces, so where the bone is.
I would have to do that too because I don't like milk.
Yeah, I'm not a milk drinker. Oh, Chris, I was going to ask you, when did you want me to take over Metfield? And then will I be doing Loch Lomond and Metfield, or will we be switching me just to Metfield, or how do you want to do that?
It would be a double amenity for you.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready to. I was going to let you make the call on that because of your mobility and everything with the toe.
He told me today, basically that I can, he's letting me take the boot off. So I just have to keep it wrapped and wear a boot, like my own boot. And he said I can drive as of today.
Okay.
So even though it's broken, he said basically I just do what I can do. So I can start driving around. So I could start for this month if you want.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah. Look forward to your first scouting on that then.
Yeah, it's real far for me. It's like,
the first time you talked about it, I knew it would be right for you. So I'm glad you want to take that on.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. All right, so we're a couple past here. Let's see, we got Scott now. And I see Val out there. And
hello.
Denise is probably not going to make it today. I see that is true. And also Deb wasn't going to make it today. So I see that is also true. So we have 7 of 9 committee members here. So that's plenty to make it a quorum. So we could proceed. Thanks for joining everybody. It's just a touch after 4, as I mentioned. And this will be the October edition of the Recreation Committee meeting. Pretty standard agenda today. One individual noted that they have a hard stop at 5. So I think we'll be able to get through this. There's not a lot on the agenda. And we'll just get right into it here with the amenity reports. And like I mentioned, there's a couple folks out here. So the first 2 amenities, Branchwood and Tyree, won't have a verbal report this month at least because Deb and Denise are out. So let's go on to your report, Jackie, the Lake Ann and RV storage.
The RV park, actually, RV storage, I went by there and my code didn't work and I haven't had time to get a new one. So anyway, I drove up by it and it looked fine. I just didn't drive through it.
Gotcha.
On Lake Ann, the member interaction, we actually had the Fly Tire group, I think, rotates their meetings, and they were meeting at the Ann Pavilion this month and had real good, just general conversation with them. They were enjoying it, beautiful morning. And when asked to know what they liked about the area and what they could do what they suggested for improvements, one of them was if there was some way that we could mark and design to where parking closer to the pavilion was available, and they suggested maybe diagonally parking instead of parallel parking along the road. And I just said I would mention that, bring it to the committee meeting as we were talking, but overall they love the location and actually are enjoying rotating instead of being in one place. So there's a lot of activity down there as far as the power lines, because Carroll Electric is clearing all along the area there. So they're storing their heavy duty equipment down at the pavilion, and a lot of activity, but they appear to be cleaning up after themselves each evening, so there won't be any problem with driving on the roads and all of that. So one other comment about the porta-johns, the two that BBB Septic maintain at the boat ramp and the pavilion are excellent, always great. And we had a little discussion about the one that the city services, well, city contracts at the trailhead, and it's kind of a hit and miss. I check it probably at least once a week, and it's being serviced, but not near like BBB Septic. But I think I could call the city, I guess, to mention that, but I have not done that. Not sure who to contact on that.
You could probably reach out to the council person for that district.
So I'll be happy to do that. Just mention that it could be a little bit better, but overall things look good.
All right. Thank you for that report. On to number 4 on the list, which is Road and Hall. So take us away, Scott.
All right, thanks. Everybody hear me okay?
You're good.
All right. So the overall condition over there is pretty good. I took an extended walk through the playground, so I have a few things to mention there. But as far as Reardon Hall goes, they have kind of cleared out a little bit more space in the main auditorium so that they could handle all of the exercise classes there. So what they did was they moved some of the equipment into other rooms. The pavilion looked good. It was clean on the day that I went and visited. All the tables appeared to be in good order, nothing there. The pool obviously now is closed, so really nothing to report there. It's got the tarp on it. Everything looked good. But some of the things that I noticed in the playground, there's a sitting bench that's over by the swings. It's got concrete pillars, but then it's got wood on it. And I noticed there were several bolts that were kind of sticking up above the wood, which looked like, it could catch on clothing, or somebody could maybe tear an arm open or something there. I wonder if that could have a look at. I took some pictures of these. I'll include it in the report when I send it in. The wood itself also looks to be kind of weathered. Don't know how often they refinish or replace those, but looks like it's in need of a little bit of a repair. Also, one of the plastic climbing stumps over there, actually in the playground, the top of it was broken. Looks like it either needs to be fixed or replaced. And then one of the trash cans over there, the lid was also broken. I think it needs to be replaced. And then the handrails on the walking and bike path, some of those are pretty badly worn and look like they're in need of refinishing or replacement as well. Walking out towards kind of the eastern end of it, there's a drain pipe over by a tree that's exposed in the playground, which looks like it's going to pose a trip hazard. So I'm not for sure if that just needs to be cut out or buried a little bit better. And then in the bathrooms over by the pavilion, in the men's room, the light sensor switch that's supposed to come on automatically doesn't. You actually have to turn it on and turn it off to get it to work. As far as the tennis courts go, they really didn't have anything to report there. I'm trying to remember what Jones said as far as the courts that were going to be resurfaced, but courts 3 and 4 look to have some pretty bad cracks in them. And I think they're aware of it because they look like they've been patched a little bit and overpainted. So not for sure where we're at on those tennis courts ones. I know we've talked about 7 and 8 and 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 out of all 8 courts look to be kind of in the worst condition. So that's all I had to report from there.
Okay, so a lot of little detailed stuff come up this month here. Thanks for that, Scott. And I don't see Joan's name on the list here. There's a Bella Vista POA address coming in, but I don't know if Joan made the call. Certainly those items would need to be listed for her to get her attention on then.
Sure.
Are you out there, Joan? Okay. That answers that. So we'll have to get that list to her, Scott. We'll do that through notes. Okay, then. So we have on to the next item, Loch Lomond. Scotty?
I'm gonna pull up my notes because my brain is it's a little slow. I sent them to Janet already. Okay, I swear I had it up. I apologize, guys. Give me a minute here. Oh, there it is. So I was there for about an hour and a half midweek. There are about 20 people there throughout the time. They didn't all stay. Overall, everything's in good shape. Bathrooms are clean. The mowing was done. Last month, I mentioned a big giant piece of scrap metal right next to the baseball field, and that is still there. My issue was just if kids are playing there. I mean, I know my kids want to play with it. And then the utility shed was unlocked with all the gear inside last month. That's still unlocked. And good news is all the gear is still inside. The sprinklers were on the baseball field the entire hour and a half we were there. And the sprinkler control box was open. So I did give a call. Rick, I think the number I have in my phone is actually for you.
Okay. So I talked to Mark Nelson, who does the mowing and the irrigation there, and they had just fertilized their fall fertilization, and they were watering it in. So
awesome.
That was on purpose.
I felt bad because I didn't see anybody around, and I thought, man, it would really. I mean, I hate to think that teenagers go and do these things, but my thought was like, I hope some kids didn't just go turn them on and just let them run. So
yeah.
In
another case in South Texas where I came from, my daughter was playing softball in a tournament, and one of the opposing teams got mad because they lost the day before, and someone from that team turned on the sprinklers on the infield so that they couldn't play the next day.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Okay.
It happens.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it
Pinky.
but it needed to be. But that's it. It's kind of a short report. There wasn't anything significant other than, like I said, that scrap metal still there and kind of off to the side.
I'll get that.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick. Okay. And thank you, Scotty. So, all right. Next on the list is the gun ranges. And that's Gary's amenity.
Well, hello, everybody. Went out and saw the gun ranges this last Saturday. And everything's in great shape. The trap and skeet was extremely busy. Ran into John over there, and he was going to be holding a class I guess later that morning or that afternoon. But yeah, both sides were about as heavily used as I'd seen them in the recent past. And the grounds are outstanding. Everything looks in really good order. And Carol's plugging away. I know he'll tell you that he probably needs a little help when he got a lot of folks out there, but he does a great job of keeping the place in order. As far as the pistol and rifle range, once again, it was extremely busy on the rifle side, and we had a couple of different. I'd say we have 3 or 4 people that were over on the pistol side. Both areas look really good as well. And the area that's, as you walk through the guard gate and go ahead and pay your pay if you're a paying member of buying ammunition, they've now got that the picnic bench in place. There's a small fire pit, a small barbecue pit there, as well as signage, a place where you can put signage up and the rules and regulations. And it's all been done it's done very, very well. And it's just a little, John said there's just a little bit more work to do before that's complete. But it's a real nice place where people need to sit and wait, or sit down and have a lunch. So it's nice. Once again, I look forward to seeing it when it's all complete next month. But that's the report on the gun ranges. They've been doing well, and people just keep coming. So it's great. Thank you.
Love the diversity of our amenities. Something for everybody. Thank you for that, Gary. All right. So now we go to the RV park. And I always mix up the RV storage with the RV park. But now we'll do the RV park. So, Val, that's your report there?
While we were down there, there were lots of campers and tent campers, bikers. by the bathroom, I noticed 4 new electrical hookups. They've sodded the grass along the new bike trail. The water fountain and the drinking part doesn't work, but the bottle part works. So I can't quite figure that out. Why?
I think that's a COVID thing.
Well,
so you can fill up your bottles, but not,
okay.
Drink down with your base.
Okay. I didn't know if they turned it off for fear of freezing or what the reason was. We did run into some people camping at the RV park, and they said the only thing they would like is to be able to book online because it's almost impossible to get a hold of them by phone. So that was their only request. They said, otherwise they love coming here and it's beautiful. Their dogs love it. They love it. So that's it.
All right. Good and simple. Thank you. Okay, Janet, I know you've been waiting to report on Tanyard Creek, so now it's all yours.
Thanks. I went to Tanyard Creek on a Saturday and everything looked really good. There were tons of people out and I was excited about that. I got to chat with a lot of them, but the restrooms were okay, except for the women's, the seat was really dirty. And I had a couple of people complain about that when they saw me up close. And I asked some questions about, their experience of the restrooms. And they said, well, it's a public restroom. But there was some concern about how dirty, and it was kind of smelly in there. But I also want to note that there's a little path behind the restrooms that it's graveled, that goes toward the practice center. Behind there are 2 fairly deep holes in the ground. And the way kids like to run around and they see a path, it just seemed to me like maybe that had been a sign placed there before or some kind of a fence, but it's pretty dangerous.
Okay.
Maybe for me, because I don't pay any attention where I'm going. So anyway, let's see. Otherwise, the trail itself was great as always, superb, no debris. I must have talked to or seen about 50 people and possibly more. I was out about 12:30 on a Saturday, and both the trails and the pavilion were being used a lot. As soon as someone finished up at the pavilion, with their kids eating lunch or whatever, somebody else was coming in. The trash cans apparently have been emptied, but the trash not picked up yet. So I'm not sure what the frequency is of trash pickup. But the pavilion itself was clean. So most of the people I talked to were from out of town. Kansas City, Dallas, Fort Worth, Tulsa, Fayetteville, you name it. And a handful were from Bella Vista. I asked them why they came, and they said they Googled trails and nature places in our neck of the woods. And also they saw the Tanyard Creek trails on All Trails. It's an app for the phone that has, all the trails in the area.
Yeah.
And they were just ecstatic over having the trails there, and the fact that they were kid friendly, not too difficult, and parent friendly, that they could keep an eye on the kids. So that was good. One person was sitting waiting on his kids to get back from the trails, and he was in a wheelchair. And I talked a little bit with him, and he mentioned that he would really, it would be nice if more of the trail were accessible. And I said, well, I'm not sure, when we get into nature trails, you're talking a nature trail as opposed to something that's concrete. But just something to keep in mind, that wherever we can offer an amenity that's also can be handicap accessible as much as possible, that would be good. Lots of pets. One couple did ask if there were any brochures for the park, the Tanya Creek trails and so forth. And I said, not that I was aware of it. Everything was online. And they said, well, they couldn't get online. They weren't online. So they were asking maybe if there were a trail map or, some information. And I can certainly appreciate that, because I tend to lose my way every time I go on. I have no sense of direction. So, but anyway, I was thrilled that our amenity was such a draw for people coming and camping, in Bella Vista, and possibly looking to buy timeshares. So that was good. Lake Avalon, the park and the dam, the conditions were really good. No trash or debris. The porta potty at the dam was okay, but I think all of them kind of need end of season cleaning. I mean, it really, of course, porta potties in general don't have that come use me appeal attraction, but just something. At the dam, there were like 3 people. 2 were fishing off the dock. One was floating on a paddleboard. They were all from Bella Vista and thoroughly enjoying the quietness there. At the park, primarily the pavilion was being used. There were about 35 people, some from Texas. It was a big family reunion. And the kids were having a great time in the sand volleyball area, not playing volleyball, but, pushing each other around. And the disc golf, the one disc golf, I don't know what you call it, hole, was being used by several people, and only good things. They had only good things to say about the park itself, just in terms of how many options there were for folks. There weren't any trailers or boats out, and the park itself was just immaculate. It was so nice, as always. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Janet. So, the POA governance documents put trails under responsibility of this recreation committee. And we don't talk much about them other than the Tanya Creek Trail there. And Joan's not here today. So I think what we'll do is make a agenda item for next month to expand on the trails, especially in the context that, there's so many visitors that are not from Bella Vista. And that's a common theme with the big bike trails and the soft trails in general. So probably some things we could talk about on that next month when Joan is available. So thanks for that little seed to get it started, Janet. So the next 2 amenities on the list are mine, and they include the Metfield Complex. I went there a few times. Of course, I started working out there again with the gym being open. So on that, it's a small facility there, and the receptionists say that there hasn't been any capacity constraint yet, that folks call in and make their reservations and stuff are able to be accommodated. And I see that too. I'm able to work out and it's not that crowded. So far so good with the weight facilities and the aerobics equipment. Outside, things are looking real good. The complex is in great condition. Restrooms clean. The door on the men's room is holding in there. And the pickleball courts are good. I was there on a Saturday morning and it was quite busy. There were a handful of children playing on the playground equipment, and there were 2 families playing mini golf, and they seemed to be having a good time there. I talked to some of the folks playing pickleball, and they were appreciative of the new nets that were put in this season and the lights that were fixed so quickly. And they did point out a crack that's starting to form in there that needs to be watched. So other than that, the Metfield is looking really good.
Chris, I have a question about Metfield. We've been up there playing pickleball on Sunday evenings around 4, and the bathrooms are locked. Do you know what time they're locking them?
I'm not sure on that, what the policy is. We'll check in with Joan on that.
Okay.
Chris, I have a question too.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is more Metfield as your amenity or more Joan, who I know is not here. But I sent you that email about that string on Facebook of people just up in arms about the mini golf on both Metfield side and Reardon side. I saved it on Facebook so I could tell you how many people had posted. And then somebody posted that I guess Mike Abb had said, oh no, they're taking one down and they'll fix the other one. And I didn't know that that was out there. And I was trying to be very, I'm drawing a blank on the word. I was trying to be very kind of neutral and just encourage people to reach out to the recreation committee, that we were aware, that the POA is aware that some amenities need work, but people were really very passionate about, the responses were very passionate about both mini golfs, and people were very, very concerned that they were going to take one down. And again, I didn't want to say anything, but I also, anytime somebody's just ripping on the POA and saying we're not doing anything and nobody knows, and it's like, well, please share your feedback, please email the POA, tell them how important it is. And I put on there, I'm emailing the head of our recreation committee right now about this. So I didn't know, is that kind of on a you, or is that like our discussion a little bit later today, or?
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about the budget, and of course, we rated that facility within the proposed plan. So, yeah, let's hang on to that.
Okay.
And there's probably some discussion that we could continue on with mini golf on there.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get to that right after I give you a quick word on London Park. So that park is looking good. There were 3 cars there with trailers, so 3 boats in the water on Friday evening. The place is looking great, clean. Restrooms are in great condition. Talked to a couple who were coming in on their kayaks. First, I watched them struggle a little bit, getting out of the kayak, because it's not a real smooth launch point there for kayaks. So they just wish that we could make some better accommodations for kayak launching there, and mention that why not? There's so many people on kayaks these days that it would be worth looking into. So that would be for the record on London Park. All right, so going to the agenda then, we just wrapped up our amenity reports, and I'm going to try something really tricky here with Zoom. I'm going to see if I could share my screen, because what it has is the report that we submitted on the ratings of the proposed budget projects. So I'll just do a quick read through on that, because Tom Judson's out on vacation and Joan is out here, but we'll at least get our feedback on these projects into record. So let me see if I could get this screen shared. And then, of course, we'll hit the mini golf a little bit here when that comes up. So give me a second here and see if this works. 1, 2. All right. If it's working, you're looking at a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
All right, cool, success. So what we did last month is we heard from Joan on several projects that were proposed. The Recreation Committee went off and had a separate meeting to review everything that was discussed and to look at the notes that Joan shared on these projects. We then went and independently submitted rankings on these projects, and then I tallied up all of the rankings mathematically, and we ended up with a priority list. So this is the spreadsheet which summarizes that feedback. So it was quite obvious that the most important things with the projects were repair, to keep the facilities that we have in good order. And the Kingsdale pool was the #1 on the list. We need to fix it. We heard about feedback that suggests we could be looking at issues. So that became #1 on the list. And this list, again, is just the proposed feedback from our group here for the POA board to act on. So we could only provide that feedback. This is as far as we could go. #2 was the same theme. It was on the Kingsdale tennis courts. The committee felt that that was important, that those repairs be made, and that we continue a round of scheduled maintenance to make sure that that whole complex is in good order for tournaments and everything. And on these first two, I'm just kind of paraphrasing all the individual comments, but Joan did get all these line items here, every single comment that we were collecting. The next on the list was the tiny cabins at Blowing Springs. The committee, and I'm going to summarize again, liked this because it was an attractive opportunity for the needs for camping to be fulfilled, and in that stylish little tiny cabin, and it would become a great source of revenue to help with other POA projects. So that is kind of oriented as a growth goal, but the committee saw that as a #3, numerically and mathematically. There are some concerns here that we pointed out because it is permanent structure and everything. So proper planning should be done to pull the trigger on this one. And I'm sure that our POA leaders will look at that and do the right things. And then here is #4. At the time, mini golf, we thought that was a #4 priority. And there was a lot of good feedback on that, and we'll circle back to additional words from Scotty. But I want to go through a couple of these points here that were written. It notes that this is an amenity that kids could easily use. It could be expensive to repair and maintain, but it's one of the few activities that's really oriented well for the younger folks in our community. Medfield has more kids, as it seems, on that side of town. And there's a lot of other amenities there that make it attractive to maintain a mini golf course there. There was a comment that maybe we should survey the membership to gauge interest in keeping one, both, or how far should we expand the repair on them. Facebook just started trending about mini golf when we were doing our budget proposals. One committee member said that the 2 courses should be maintained because Bella Vista is pretty big. So, to serve our community right, we thought that committee member thought that 2 locations should be maintained. And members with young children and grandchildren love the amenity. And I actually saw that on Saturday with my own eyes there. It was a couple grandparents with their grandkids there that were playing mini golf. And it says that we do not want to lose a course in either location, and that you could look at funding things incrementally, doing portions of a course or doing one course in a budget cycle year and doing a second course in another year. So that was the input that the committee took on the mini golf. So while we're on this, is there any further discussion that we'd like to present on this for the record?
The only thing I was thinking about, and people were talking about it on the Facebook feed, but again, I didn't want to step in that, so I was just kind of trying to give helpful information and then back up just in terms of telling people to reach out and that we were aware. If it's not in the budget, or if they decide that they're only going to do one, is this one of those things where we could allow members to work together to do a fundraiser or to reach out to members and see if they couldn't, kind of pull resources to build? I mean, I was even talking to my husband about it, and he was like, I'll bet you there's some retirees that have some amazing skills that could do all sorts of things if we as just people who live here wanted to do something like that, rather than having them just completely tear one down. And I didn't know when they discuss the budget, if they just decide we really just don't have the funds, we can only do this one. Would this be a project where we really could say, hey, let's open this up to the members? Obviously, you'd want it to be managed by somebody within kind of the POA to oversee it, so we make sure we're doing it a way that's not going to wash away with the first rain. You've got some good standards there.
Okay.
So I'll jump in here. Absolutely, nothing is decided in a vacuum. The way it works is with your input and with my department's input, the board will listen to recommendations, but there are limitations, and it's going to be capital challenged year, no matter what we vote for. So could we look at 1 year doing some work on one course and another year? Yes, but there's no guarantees that in the next year budget cycle, something might rise up to the top that's more important. This is my opinion, and I've shared it with this committee before, and volunteers definitely could help in some capacity, but it's got to be done in a way that is a professional carpet layer has to put that carpet down. So it's not as easy as you think, but the volunteers certainly would be welcome. I just don't like to give anybody false hope. And I think that even though people would love to see too many golf courses remaining open, there's lots of people that would like to see us have 2 beaches. There's lots of people that would like to see us build a splash pad. And so I am of the opinion that as people are bringing things up, they need to know that there are some things that just can't happen, even though, yes, it would be great to still have one on the east side and then the central side. And I'm not suggesting that can't happen, but I don't want to give people false hope, because in many communities, they have no mini golf. The fact that we have 2 is the fact that long ago we built 2 and have been unable to afford to keep them up. So I like your ideas. It will be managed by the POA. We definitely could involve some volunteers. To be honest with you, several years ago, I reached out to a couple of our groups who are handy groups, such as the wood carvers, to see if they would be willing to build some attractions. And that wasn't of appeal to them. So yes, we can use some volunteer help. But again, I just want to be voice of reason. I think you have to go into it, and I have budgeted for this in the Capitol, and I appreciate all of your feedback so much. Very aware, even before, as you said, Chris, it was trending on Facebook. Part of that is COVID. Everything outdoors has just spiked up. But I absolutely want to say that it's no different than the pickleball courts, right? We would love to build those at Branchwood and build some at Reardon. That's not necessarily our reality. So I don't want there to be false hopes. And I know that this is being watched out on Facebook. I just want people to kind of understand the reality. Could we involve the membership and do a survey when we get to that point? Absolutely. To see whether or not it makes sense to put it at Metfield or at Reardon. The one thing that I will just share about the Reardon complex, mini golf does get vandalized. At the Reardon complex, I have staff. I do not have staff all the time at Metfield. I only have it for the 3 months in the summer. So that's another consideration. Doesn't mean we can't put it at Metfield if that's what is in the best interest of the young families. But I will tell you that the Reardon mini golf course gets just as much use as Metfield. So just a lot of things to kind of keep in mind. And I'm going to stop there because I know some of the rest of you may have some other comments, but I wanted to be very transparent about things that we have to be aware of.
Okay. Thank you, Joan. I didn't know you were there. Appreciate that. Anybody else have a comment for the record here?
This is Jackie. My only other comment, I guess it hasn't already been discussed, is that it's two existing amenities. And I think that's a little different than starting from scratch to do two beaches or whatever. So I just think I would like to have as much effort as possible to maintain amenities that we currently have.
Okay. All right. That's the inputs on mini golf. They're on the record. Leaders need to look at them now, and we'll go from there. Okay, so coming down to the last two items that were on the budget project list. One was there's two boats. Well, there's one boat at the marina, and there's the idea to sell that and buy a different type of boat. So specifically, the bass boat is proposed for sale to get a proposed sport boat. And the membership thought that belonged in the number 5 position here. And there was a comment made that if the bass boat really is that infrequently used, that maybe it should be liquidated whether or not the sport boat is purchased. So that would simply be the input on that. And the final one that was proposed was the adult outdoor fitness playground. There wasn't really a big appetite for this with the committee. Really didn't see a need for it that much. So, and others felt it should just be dismissed outright. So it's the least important project that was proposed budget-wise. There was one addition made to the proposed budgets. This is from the committee origination, and it's just to look at the fencing around the playground in the Metfield area. It's just covering a portion. I think it's the east side of the park where it's adjacent to the parking. And someone observed that one watching a group of kids might not be able to catch them all with their eye as they run around the sides and get where they shouldn't be. So to encircle the playground with a fence is proposed. And it's not ranked because it wasn't a part of the original proposal set, but it's something that we could keep an eye on. So that is the readout from the budgets. I'm going to close the screen sharing now and move back to the next element of our agenda, which is a quick note administratively before we move into the staff reports, is that our amenity reports, as we write them as committee members, we'd like to move it to a simpler format and get it to myself, Tammy, and Janet before our call. And that way she could paste it into the notes real easily and help her be a little bit more efficient with capturing everything. So I'll send out an example by email on that and a reminder too for us committee members. Okay, so now with that, we could go on to the staff reports. And since Tom is out, Judy, I thought marketing shouldn't be last all the time. So I put you on the top of the list for any marketing remarks.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you, my picture. We really don't have a lot to report as far as recreation goes. So we're also in the middle of budget. I think most of the departments are. And our budget doesn't really relate a whole lot to you, but thanks for including me in the meeting. Very informative. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Judy. Okay, on to Lakes, Parks, and Fisheries. So that would be Mr. Rick Eccles.
All right.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. We'll start with our Lake Ranger contacts. For me, the Recreation Committee kind of bleeds over into the lakes stuff, but it's all pertinent. So our Lake Rangers have, for the month of September, made 2,629 contacts on the water, 626. They spent 166 hours on the water and found and removed 250 non-members. Over the month, we have transitioned from summer to winter hours and have gone down from 8 rangers to 4 rangers. And that'll be the case until about April 1st next year. So also of interest to fishermen, we have stocked Loch Lomond, Windsor, and Ann with blue catfish this year. First time in quite a few years. Channel catfish have also been stocked in Windsor. The remaining lakes will be stocked later this fall. And we have also stocked for the second time this year grass carp into Loch Lomond in an attempt to get control of the aquatic vegetation there. It's also been quite a while since we stocked the other lakes with grass carp, so those are coming this fall as well. And there's been some recent concern about the dog park and how we try to accommodate both small and large dogs. And so I have included rebuilding the small dog park in the budget that I'm proposing. Of course, we'll have to get approval on that, but that did get in at this point. John has been making final edits to our wake boat study for this year, and he'll be presenting that at Wednesday's Lakes Committee meeting. Our fall fish sampling is ongoing and will be complete by late November. We missed our spring sampling because of COVID restrictions and the fact that we have to work in such close quarters. But we have got protocols in place that allow us to be safe. And so we're trying to double up a little bit this fall on what we're doing. So if you hear any complaints about people on the water at all hours of the night with lights and loud noises, that's us. We did hire an engineer to certify the swinging bridge at Tanyard Creek. He has been on site and taken measurements, but we haven't gotten anything back. It's getting some age on it, and there's some concern about capacity, and he's also going to recommend some maintenance items for us to take care of there. So that'll be good. And John will have a few things to say about the gun range.
Perfect. On to you then, John.
Like Gary said, we're really busy over at both gun ranges. Rifle pistol is extremely busy, far busier than I've ever seen it since we've taken it over. Last month, we were up 80% over September of 2019. So extremely busy. October is the month we expect to be busy, and we're through the first 12 days of the month. I just checked, we're already tied with last year. So I expect October is going to be a really good month. We have just poured new concrete over at the rifle range that kind of connected our two rifle stations or the areas where the rifle stations are. And that's to increase our capacity. Right now, we're running at a little bit of limited capacity through the weekends, especially as people kind of pour in, just because we try to keep people distanced. But with the new concrete, that'll allow us to add some more benches, at least in the interim, and help people out. Our handgun classes have just been going. I think people are just ready to get out of the house. We've doubled the number of classes that we would normally hold in any given month. Already in October, those are already full. We're looking to see if we can add some more. We're running out of space now. We've got so many full classes. See, the last thing, probably around the end of October, we think we'll have probably completed our busy season over at Trap and Skeet. So we'll be pulling Trap House 2 or Trap Field 2 down, and we'll be rebuilding the house that the machine is actually housed. That house is probably 20-something years old at this point now, probably 30 years old at this point. So we'll be updating some wiring and that sort of thing. And that was a project that we had in last year's budget. So that'll be finally coming to fruition. And that's all I've got.
All right, outstanding. Good news. Okay, Joan, all up to you now.
Okay, thanks. So to piggyback on what I was talking about with mini golf and budgets, as Rick was referring to, we are all in the sort of the tail end phase of our first round of drafts for our budget. And already the budget slashing has begun. That's not a Halloween phrase. It just happens that budgets, there's always more that we'd like to do than we can. So before the board even gets a look, we internally go back and slash. So our department's been doing that. And the reason we're doing some of that is to do as much capital improvement as we can. So if operationally we can get by with less in 2021 so that there's a better chance to do some capital improvements, we will do that. So that work will continue throughout the month until the board gets to see things, and then they will give feedback and all that. The team, the rec division, is working hard. You've probably seen some publicity on our new event that will happen the week of Halloween at Blowing Springs Park. It's called the Not So Haunted Woods Drive-Through, and we're super excited about this. It's a family-friendly event, COVID safe. You will not be able to get out of your car. It'll be a drive-through, and I won't go into a lot of details because the whole division is working hard on surprising our membership with something for everyone, no matter what your age is. We will be limiting some of the tent camping that week in the back of the park so that we can do our setup. The marina closes this Sunday. It's our last weekend. We've had a very successful summer. This is our second year of running the marina in-house. Trey Anson, who's one of my managers who has taken that on, is doing a great job. Part of it, truth be told, is COVID. You know, like I talked about mini golf, very popular. The boats have been sold out all the time. Which is pretty normal on weekends, but we've just seen more and more, and we've streamlined some things. So kudos to Trey and the team for having a great season. Branchwood Water Fitness classes, we are bringing those back starting next Monday. Those are indoor classes, very limited to size. We had a sign-up day today. Fortunately, not everybody got in, but we knew it would be that way. We had about 64 slots to fill and 10 classes that we brought back. Fortunately, we can only get about 8 people in the pool, but we're happy that we're able to bring some things back rather than nothing. Mm-hmm. So that will start next week. Reardon Hall, we recently removed some of the exercise equipment in the large auditorium and moved it to a smaller room and compacted it, so that the classes that we currently have in one of our smaller rooms can move back into the auditorium. There's some trade-offs with that, meaning some people exercising may not necessarily want to hear the Zumba music that's going on when they're exercising. Conversely, a Zumba person might not want a person on a weight machine behind them watching them shake their tail feathers, if you will. But it's one of those things we're doing to try and maximize and accommodate as many people as we can. So there will still be some classes like yoga in our smaller room, but some of the classes that really need the extra space and have a wait list will be moving into the auditorium, and that's starting already this week. The campground is very full, including the tiny cabin. The last couple of months, I'm at about a 90 to 95% occupancy. So that's really huge. The campground sold out 4 weekends in a row. That's pretty normal for October. What's interesting is the craft fairs are way down this year. We usually get a big boom from people coming in for craft fairs. And since there's limited craft fairs this year, you're just seeing our occupancy still staying very high. So we're excited about that. Regarding a beach at Lake Avalon, fairly soon we'll probably be working towards building a storage unit at the far end of the beach, and that is because our rental business continues to be very successful at the beach. And while we have some downtime in the winter, we're getting some of these projects done so that we'll be ready for the peak season. It's very difficult to store all the kayaks that we have. We currently have one trailer. They don't all fit in there. We have to drag them about a tenth of a mile across the parking lot to store in the big storage sheds. So we're basically building a small storage shed. And so you'll see some work on that probably later this fall. Our MAC department will do that, saving some money and building a quality shed for us. Trail work continues. Many of the last minute details in terms of the Little Sugar are happening, whether it be for tunnels or some of the work around the big bridge, which will cut over to the back 40, which is on the far side of the golf course. And we're continuing to add signage to keep the golfers safe, to make sure the bikers are aware, and just lots of little projects going on in the field with the trails. As far as the Razorback extension, just this week, late last week on Friday, they laid sod at Blowing Springs Park along the paved Razorback connector. So that will be filling in, and they're still going to have to seed because there's still a gap, but the trail originally called for 2 foot side on either 2 foot of sod on either side of the trail. And they went a little bit beyond that in a couple places, which we're more than happy about. And that's about it for recreation.
Okay, thanks for that report, Joan. I'm not sure if you picked up an early report from Scott. There's a couple of little things that have cropped up, kind of safety things at Rorden area, but those will be in the notes for you to pick up and check into.
I apologize, I missed that, and I'll get it either from the notes or Tammy will give me an update.
Exactly.
For joining late.
Perfect. All right, so that's it for October here, I think. Any last comments for anybody before we ask for calls for adjournment? Next meeting is going to be November 9th, Monday, November 9th. And it'll be the first time that we come back with a hybrid situation. So folks who are comfortable with social distancing and the proper setup at the boardroom will be able to come and meet live. And for those folks who prefer to stay remote, that will be just fine. We'll open up a Zoom line for that too. So November 9th will be a hybrid Recreation Committee meeting. And now we are really done for today. Do we have any calls for adjournment, motions for adjournment?
Chris, before we do that, I had just a couple questions for Rick if he's still on.
I think so.
Hey, Rick, this is Scott. Just a couple questions on Brittany. Were they going to continue doing the trout stocking starting next month?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, they'll begin the first part of November. It's been so warm it slipped my mind.
Yeah, it has been. And then the other question was, I emailed you about the ramp there at Brittany. Have you had a chance to look into that, or had anybody look into that at all?
About redesigning it or making it wider, or
about redesigning it. Yeah, with the lake so low, which I know, it's always going to be an issue in the summertime when we don't get a lot of rain. The lake water is going to go down, but the ramp isn't in the water anymore because the water's gone down so far, and the ramp is so steep. I I don't want to suggest that we redesign it, but it does make it kind of difficult to get the larger bass boats in and out of there. And I just wondered if that had ever been considered or looked at, or.
Well, in order to put the proper length to that ramp that's required, we would need to bring the lake down, and we have enough trouble keeping water in that lake.
Yeah.
I can talk with Mike Tigert about that and see if he has any ideas, but I don't know that we can do much.
Okay. Yeah, and I didn't think there was. I know there's not a lot of room there. There's not a lot of room on the dam, but I just wondered if it could be looked at, maybe taken under consideration somehow.
Absolutely.
We all make do. We figure out a way to get the boats in and out, but it is kind of a chore sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Rick.
Yes.
That's all the questions.
All right.
Chris.
Okay, Scott. I think that should do it now. Going once, going twice. Okay, where's that motion? Who wants the motion to adjourn?
We adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Val. Anybody make a second?
Second, I motion.
Second.
All right, thanks, folks. So we're officially all set for October. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.